Let's not sugarcoat it. Silverstone shook. And it wasn't because of the weather, it was because Lewis Hamilton, cloaked in a Ferrari red, reminded the world that he's not here for nostalgia. He's here for blood. From the moment FP1 lit up the screens, the tone was different. This wasn't just a fast lap, it was a challenge. Hamilton clocked the quickest time not as a fluke but as a declaration. Even Charles Leclerc was caught off guard. Ferrari's engineering team didn't expect that delta. The fans didn't expect it. But Hamilton did, and when he followed it up with a solid P3 in FP2, his calm post-session words, "I can dream of a strong weekend," weren't wishful thinking. They were warnings in disguise. 9-time winner at Silverstone, home turf, new colours, old fire. Ferrari's Friday didn't belong to Leclerc, it belonged to Lewis. Yes, the car still needed fine-tuning, as Hamilton admitted, but that didn't dull the message. The SF-25, once unruly in his hands, is finally bending to his will. He's not adjusting to the car anymore. The car is adjusting to him. Meanwhile, across the garage, Leclerc looked unsettled. He talked about needing more pace in qualifying. His tone wasn't analytical, it was anxious. While he was chasing balance through setup tweaks and radio frustrations, "I still can't feel the rear in turn 13. Hamilton's car stayed steady, smooth, surgical. That's not just setup, that's synergy. The telemetry doesn't lie. Sector 2, through the high-speed sweepers, Cops, Maggots, Beckett's, Hamilton was planting the throttle earlier, more confidently. That's not engineering alone, that's trust. Emotional trust, the kind that makes a difference when the margins shrink and pressure peaks. And if you want proof of what really spooked Ferrari's side of the garage, it wasn't the lap time on low fuel, it was the long runs. Engineers noticed it. Same compound, same stint length. But Hamilton's degradation curve, flatter, more controlled. On a track where tyre life writes the race script, Hamilton quietly flipped a page. For most of this season, Leclerc has held the Sunday advantage. Cleaner tyre management, better racecraft under pressure. But at Silverstone, that gap is gone. In fact, it might be reversed. Leclerc may have ended FP2 in P2, but he exited the car with his helmet still on, staring at the monitors. No smiles, just calculation. And while the cameras cut away, Ferrari's data room was buzzing. Lewis didn't just match Leclerc, he took the thing Charles prides himself on, consistency, and threw it back with interest. This isn't just rivalry, it's a shift in momentum. If we're being honest, the first tremor came back in Austria. Fourth place might have looked average on paper, but there were no safety cars, no lucky breaks, just Hamilton, raw pace, and a Ferrari that finally started to behave. That was the spark. Silverstone is the flame. And the engineers, they're seeing something else too. Since Spielberg, Hamilton's been quicker than Leclerc in medium-speed entries, the type of corners Charles used to own. That's not an adjustment curve. That's a hunter finding rhythm. So here at Silverstone, with high-speed transitions and unstable weather in the forecast, Hamilton isn't bracing for chaos. He's welcoming it. He knows this track. He knows its moods. And more importantly, he remembers. "You never know here. The wind, the rain," he said with a half smile. "That's not poetry. That's a warning rooted in experience." A year ago, it was the chaos of changing skies that handed him his final win with Mercedes. Others hesitated. He read the storm. That wasn't luck. That was legacy. And now, with the stands drenched in Ferrari red and the forecast refusing to settle, the paddock can feel it again. Hamilton is on the hunt. Not for nostalgia, not for closure, but for proof. The question isn't whether Lewis can take his first podium with Ferrari this weekend. The real question is, can Leclerc stop him? Because if he can't, the power dynamic inside Maranello won't just shift, it'll snap. And once that happens, there's no going back. If the rain returns to Silverstone, Hamilton doesn't race. He transforms. He ceases to be just another Ferrari driver and becomes something more, a phenomenon. Charles Leclerc, by contrast, is sharp, calculated, a master of precision. But in chaos, precision wavers, and instinct rules. Ferrari knows that. Quietly, their simulation models are starting to shift. Not around Leclerc's ideal dry laps, but around Hamilton's wet weather instincts. It's subtle, but it's happening. Because when the skies darken, raw speed means nothing. experience reigns. And on a soaked Silverstone stage, Hamilton isn't just experienced, he's untouchable. If Sunday turns grey, Leclerc's main rival won't be McLaren's raw pace, it'll be the shadow in red, the one who's lived this storm, written its ending and returned to perform it again. While headlines marvel at Hamilton's pace, the real story is unfolding in whispers. Along the pit wall, inside the garage, it's Riccardo Adami, once Leclerc's right hand, now Hamilton's behind-the-scenes strategist. At the start of the season, his reassignment was downplayed as a routine shuffle. But it wasn't. It was surgical repositioning. And over the past 3 races, their radio has evolved. From clinical to conversational, from commands to code. They speak like they've done this for years. Leclerc? He's adjusting to a new voice in his ear. Talented, absolutely, but not forged in the fire with him. And in F1, that missing rhythm, that half-second disconnect can derail a weekend. On Friday, Hamilton's run plan changed mid-session. No confusion, no hesitation, just box now. Plan Delta Red. 2 laps later, he was back out. Consistent, clinical, relentless. Analysts were stunned. Leclerc's run delayed. His tyres lost temperature. His flow broken. This isn't favoritism, it's focus. Ferrari's internal axis is beginning to shift. The man who once built Leclerc's rise is now shaping Hamilton's resurgence. And that shift isn't loud, it's quiet, controlled, intentional. To many, a podium would just be another result. For Hamilton, at Silverstone, in red, it's a correction of legacy. He didn't leave Mercedes to fade into the background. He left to reignite, and to do it at home in front of his people wearing Ferrari red. That's not symbolic, that's personal redemption. Because behind the practiced smiles and polished interviews is a man who's heard it all. Too old, too late, too political. This podium would be more than a trophy, it would be a statement. And Ferrari needs that moment. They haven't stood atop Silverstone since 2022. And despite Leclerc's brilliance, it's Hamilton who owns this circuit's rhythm. 9 wins, countless miracles. No one manipulates Silverstone's emotion like him, and Ferrari knows if there's one track where Lewis can awaken fully, it's here. That's why every setup tweak, every tyre call, every degree of wing angle isn't just race prep, it's legacy engineering. They're building a moment, one that will outlive Sunday, one that will echo far into 2025. If Hamilton reaches the podium this weekend, it won't just be history, it'll be a shift, a power move, a reminder that he's not chasing greatness, he's reclaiming it. And while the cameras may catch only smiles and sound bites, something else is stirring. On Friday evening, Leclerc walked past the press, eyes lowered, no words. Hamilton, calm, collected, like a man who's seen the future and knows it has his name on it. Inside Ferrari, it's not conflict, it's friction. A quiet tension. 2 visions of the Scuderia standing side by side. Leclerc, the heir they raised. Hamilton, the legend they borrowed who might not be leaving. The numbers are starting to speak. High fuel simulations place Hamilton within a breath of P2 pace over full stints. Add in a damp track and the edge begins to tilt. He's not an outsider anymore. He's the threat beneath the surface. But don't expect Ferrari to say it. They'll speak of unity, progress, teamwork. Don't buy it. When Hamilton said, "I can dream of a strong weekend," he wasn't dreaming. He was marking territory. And if, when the lights go out on Sunday, he's ahead of Leclerc into turn 1, don't expect a duel. Expect a reckoning, because this isn't just a race. This is the point where Ferrari's future splits in 2. If you believe the real story lives in the tyre data, the whispered radio codes, and the quiet glances inside the garage, stick around. The next chapter isn't coming. It's already begun.